Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. You can also find this in podcast form at two locations over at PackerNet Podcasts and our Overflow channel. If you just search Packer Fan Total Access anywhere you get your podcast. So today is February the 9th. We're going to dive into some more offseason talk. Really excited about the show today. One of the things that we try to do here at PTA, especially in the offseason, is we try to find some commonalities. We try to find these situations where it's like, man, you know, as we went through a mock draft, as we went through free agency season, all this keeps popping up, right? And one of the things that we noticed right off the bat was cornerback. If you didn't get a cornerback at 52, you're kind of in no man's land, right? So now the question becomes, all right, do you go get a corner in free agency? So we tried to button that up a little bit when we were doing our offseason simulation, if you will. We tried to sign a cornerback, and Trayvon Diggs, to me, made the most sense in terms of a free agent, right? You get him about $8 million. Some of the models are showing. And understand when we throw these numbers out, some websites may be saying he's worth 10, others may be saying he's worth 5. We'll kind of, give a little grace there, leave a little leniency, if you will, a little bit of space for that to fluctuate. Same thing with like Tyler Linderbaum. This is the thing that recently has popped up. When we go and sign Tyler Linderbaum in free agency, and again, I listened to a sports talk show today, former Packer player, say that they can't afford Linderbaum. How many times are we going to do this? They can afford Linderbaum. They can afford Linderbaum plus about 2 or 3 other big name free agents if they wanted to go all in and get really reckless with the cap. But Linderbaum, we've shown you time and time again, we've shown you about 2 or 3 different avenues where you can free up the money just like that. You can't in one breath say this team is horrible, this team sucks, this offensive line is so bad, and then when you go to cut, say, an Elton Jenkins, or you go to cut an Aaron Banks, in the same breath that you said the offensive line is horrible, go, well, we can't afford to lose those guys. I thought they were horrible. You know what I'm saying? So, again, all those things can't be true. The truth's probably somewhere in the middle, as it always lies. But when we go in and we try to get a defensive tackle in the draft, we're finding ourselves going, man, this really doesn't shake out. This really doesn't make sense here. You've got a few kind of towards the top of the board, if you will. And then you've got some that are kind of, to me, it's like fourth through the 6th round is where I find the most value at defensive tackle. But again, if you stick to the board, that's what you're going to find yourself in, or those type of situations, right? So we're going to dive into all that. It's going to be kind of a loose forum, if you will. I'm going to try to include the chat. We're just going to have a conversation. We're going to troubleshoot everything as we go through it. We're also going to talk about the Super Bowl champion odds next year, where the Packers lie there. Again, it's very early before all the offseason moves have made. I think you guys would be pleasantly surprised at where they're sitting. Obviously, coming back with a healthier roster, everything more or less intact. And you got a couple of decisions to make with re-signing players. And, of course, the free agency and the draft will all hit as well. So when you dive into all that, we're going to look at the Super Bowl champion odds. We're also going to look at the MVP odds for Jordan Love. So we're going to hit that. We're going to go through another offseason model. This is going to be a lot quicker version where we're just going to kind of dive in and say, okay, this time we're going to force ourselves to not sign Linderbaum in free agency, and we're going to make ourselves essentially sign the best defensive tackle that we think would be the best pickup for the Packers. Because, again, that's the only real complaint we're getting. And it's not really a complaint. It's just us having a conversation about it live on the show with the fans, with the viewers and whatnot. You find yourself in a situation where it's like, okay, yeah, you went and shored up the offensive line. You got a cornerback, but, man, don't we need a 3-tech? I agree. I'm not completely sold on Wyatt. I'm glad Wyatt's under contract this year, but he's going to be 28 years old. Do you give him a 4-year, $20 to $25 million a year contract? I don't think anybody feels comfortable with that based off the numbers that we've broken down and how he has played, other than the folks that just say the eye test, whatever the heck that means. I still haven't figured that out. But when you look at the run defense, the run stops, you watch the tape. When you look at the pass rush, you look at the pass rush quarterback percentage. We're ready to just drop Rashawn Gary on his head, even though he was sitting at 12.5% quarterback pressure percentage, right? And was second on the team in sacks. But we're ready to throw the entire checkbook at Devontae Wyatt, who was sitting at 7.7% quarterback pressure percentage at 3-tech, majority of the time getting him one-on-one blocking situations, unless, of course, they decide to keep two in the block, chip the outside edges, and really kind of squeeze that offensive line pass blocking scheme. So, again, there's just a lot of stuff to kind of deep dive here. I'm excited to get into it. Before we do, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We are not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. Also, for everybody watching on X, you can click on my X profile and you'll see a YouTube link right there. If you guys go over to YouTube, sub to the channel, and get in the chat there, you can see all the conversation that's taking place in there right now. We got everybody in here. We got Chuck Jaggers rolling in. I know we got Jen Wright in the house. Just to hit on a couple of these. Coach Lynn says the D-line group is deep, or in deep. I think he meant is deep. Got it, Coach. Mike Z said, if anything proved to be true, I believe that the quality of O-line and D-line and cornerback was the difference between these two teams. We either get it or don't. Again, man, it's one loss in the trenches. We get so caught up in wide receivers. And listen, I was excited about Matthew Golden too, and I think Matthew Golden's going to be a great player. But that's the perfect example of when you hear me say tier 1 position of importance, tier 2 position of importance, you see how easy it was for Matthew Golden to be kind of I don't want to say a non-factor, but he wasn't a field tilter, right? We finally went out for the first time, what was it, in 22 years or however long it was? We finally went out and got a first-round wide receiver. And how did it pan out? I mean, again, some people want to rake Matt LaFleur because, well, he didn't use him enough. He didn't use him. I agree, but why didn't he use him enough? That's an important question. Well, because he's stupid. No, it's not because Matt LaFleur's stupid. He's one of the brightest offensive minds in the game. If anything, I think he's a little too aggressive, although there's a portion of the fan base that thinks he's too conservative. We went out and winged the ball all over the yard. What was it, 10 passes to 4 runs in the first 4 possessions of the second half in that horrible loss to the Chicago Bears, that collapse, if you will. So when you kind of dive into everything, why didn't Matthew Golden tilt the field there? That's not an indictment on Matthew Golden. It's the position. You look at the game last night. What won the Super Bowl for the Seattle Seahawks? And this is kind of the filter I run everything through. It's easy to get caught up in, damn, we missed 3 field goals here, and the offensive line collapsed there, and of course the injuries, and Matt LaFleur choosing to go for it on 4th down, and I think he should have took a field goal. You've heard me complain about that. All that encompassed in the season. Why did the Seahawks win the game last night? I think everybody feels very, very comfortable saying that the Seahawks won last night because they dominated up front. I mean, did you guys see what's his name? Will Anderson? What's his name, guys? Left tackle for the New England Patriots. Because he was he was the top tackle. He's from LSU. You guys help me out with that in the chat. I know you'll get it. He was the top tackle in the draft the year that he came out, right? And they spent a huge draft pick on him, Will Campbell. Thank you, Jay. You're the man, buddy. Will Campbell, right? So you go get Will Campbell. How did he fare against one-on-one blocking at left tackle last night? Got his butt kicked, right? So what was the difference in that game? The difference in that game was up front. It was the battle in the trenches. That doesn't mean you put all your focus there, but if you want to compete in today's football, I think you need 2 things. I think you need to be strong up front, and you need to have enough veteran presence in your locker room to handle the big moments. The Packers weren't strong enough up front, and they didn't have enough veteran presence in their locker room for the big moments. That's just my personal opinion. So, again, I mean, the only 2 players on the roster that are over 30 years old, now I'm not saying you should have a roster full of 30-plus-year-olds, but when the only 2 players on your roster that are over 30-year-olds is your kicker and your long snapper, yes, you're going to have a youthful, exuberant roster, absolutely. And that's not a bad thing. But you got to take the good with the bad, right? And the bad in that situation is these are young players. These are players who aren't that experienced on the big stage of a playoff game on the road in Chicago. They didn't know how to handle on defense. They didn't know how to handle, a 25-point collapse there in the 4th quarter. So with all that being said, see what Coach Lynn says here. He says Patriots left guard was getting abused also. Again, it was just, to me, Seattle has a solid defensive front. That's what it comes down to, right, Coach? So we are going to try to fix that today. I'm going to try to see, all right, who can we nab in free agency? Now, we're not going to be unrealistic and just push a crap ton of money out, right? What we're going to do is we're going to key in on not signing Tyler Linderbaum, and that money we would have given there, we're going to try to build up the interior defensive line and then see if in the draft we can fix the offensive line, which, again, you've got to kind of cater your offseason strategy to what is the strength of the draft class. Some draft classes are loaded with quarterbacks, right? Some draft classes are loaded with edge rushers. Some are loaded with offensive linemen. It's very rare you get one draft class where you go, wow, this draft class has everything, right? I mean, it's very, very rare. So when we look at this draft class, to me, it's loaded with offensive linemen. Like, there's been more times than not that we get a little bit deeper into the the third, fourth, and fifth round and go, oh boy, we could get this offensive lineman here. We could get that offensive lineman there, right? So that's what we want to kind of press into a little bit today is we're going to see if we can fix the offensive line through the draft while adding a defensive tackle in free agency. All right. So before we get into that, though, let's hit this first segment. I want to talk Super Bowl odds real quick with you guys and gals. I'm kind of excited about this. And again, this doesn't mean anything other than the Packers are kind of on the radar as one of the better teams in the league. I think we all expected that. Nobody expected them to be seen as a bad football team, right? But here are the 2026-2027 Super Bowl champion odds that were released. Again, this is from multiple people like DraftKings, FanDuel, folks like that. Some people may have this a little bit different odds. This is what I pulled using a kind of a conglomerate, if you will. Like I had AI, put a bunch of stuff together here. Okay. So Super Bowl odds opening up for 2027. This is before free agency, before the draft, before, even letting players go off the roster. These are going to fluctuate a little bit, I would imagine. So the following teams have opened as the early betting favorites, according to DraftKings and FanDuel. All right. Seattle Seahawks are at the front to repeat at a plus 750 odds. Okay. The LA Rams are number 2 at plus 800. Number 3 are the Baltimore Ravens at plus 1200. Also tied at third is the Buffalo Bills at 1200, plus 1200. Then you've got the New England Patriots, the AFC representative this year. They are sitting at a plus 1300, along with your Green Bay Packers, plus 1300. Now, why aren't the Patriots number 2? Most people would look at it that way, right? They would say, okay, why would the Patriots not be closer to number 2 as opposed to, dropping all the way down to tied for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Anybody who's watched the Chappelle Show got that. So what a skit. So the Patriots, maybe they kind of outkicked their coverage this year, right? Maybe they played a little above where their talent actually is. I'll tell you this, they were coached very, very well by Mike Vrabel, very well. And I want to say he won Coach of the Year. I believe so. I missed the NFL honors. So if you guys know that, throw it in the chat. But so you got a guy that kind of overperformed this year with his team. Now, does it mean they can't kind of reset, reload a little bit and get back? Absolutely, they could do that. But right now, they've got them listed as the third best team in the AFC here, according to the early Super Bowl odds. And again, there's a lot of roster construction that needs to take place. So they got the Packers right there with them, guys. So again, they've got the Packers listed as tied for 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl. That's with how the roster sits right now. Everything, if we're just going to run it back right now, that's where the Super Bowl odds open up at. So what would we need to do? And when you look at it from that perspective, what would we need to do to kind of get us over the hump? What would we need to do to put the Green Bay Packers in that top 3? How can we break that 1,000 mark, right? At like plus 900, somewhere there. Well, you got to get better than the Seahawks and the Rams. It's essentially what it comes down to. Well, what do the Seahawks and the Rams have, right? That's what you got to ask yourself. What are the strengths of those teams? To me, the Seahawks are built a little bit different than the Rams. I think the Seahawks are better in the trenches than the Rams. However, the Rams got that combo of Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, which is very important, right? I think they ran the ball fairly effective as well. I'll tell you this, it's coached by 2 great young coaches, right? And Sean McVay and obviously Coach McDonald, or is it McDonald? Yeah, McDonald, that won the Super Bowl last night. And what a class act he is, man. And, hey, defensive coach. You guys have heard me kind of rant about that, right? I prefer, as a fan, I want an offensive-minded coach at the helm. There's a situation where a defensive-minded coach, that actually both representatives in the Super Bowl were 2 defensive-minded coaches, right? So that's something to take a note of. Is the NFL shifting? I don't think it is quite yet. I think I would still prefer an offensive coach, over a defensive coach, but you got to call it out. If you see it, you got to say it, right? So going to be really, really interesting to see if that trend holds true. So again, another thing that's going to come into play here, everybody's talking about in the chat here, talking about the trenches, says Jen Wright. Coach Lynn says invest in the defense, absolutely. Yeah, Coach Lynn says May was seeing ghosts. He sure was, and rightfully so. And there, you've seen him be able to step straight up in the pocket and scramble a couple of times. He wanted to do that more times than not, but they had a little touch spy on him in the middle, and you'd see him step up, and all of a sudden that gap would close, and he'd get smacked in the mouth, right? So I think the Patriots will be fine. I think Drake May is a fine quarterback, but you got to get better in the trenches if you want to compete with teams like that for sure. Coach Land goes on to say invest in defense. All right, got it. Yeah. So this right here is huge. Jen Wright said Kubiak leaving might hurt Seattle. It definitely will. Which, fun fact, I've seen a stat, man. Minnesota Muse, it's @_MN Muse, tweeted out an image and said the last quarterback and offensive coordinator the Vikings got rid of just won the Super Bowl. There's nothing more Vikings than that. So it shows a picture of Sam Darnold, who they moved on from, who was an MVP candidate last year for most if not all of the season with the Minnesota Vikings. And then Clint Kubiak was their offensive coordinator before. So you literally got the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, went to the Seattle Seahawks with John Schneider building that roster, and tip your cap to John Schneider. What a heck of a job he's done, right? And when you kind of look at all that together, it's like, boy, we talked about it with Minnesota. Like, people were making it sound as if they're making it sound as if, oh no, we're not going to miss Sam Darnold. I heard one Vikings podcaster who I respect a lot. We can agree to disagree. It's cool. He said, well, once you paid to re-sign, I think it was Justin Jefferson, when you gave him his contract, you couldn't afford to sign Sam Darnold. Guys, that's why I don't call people out by name, and I don't go comment on their streams. If they wanted my opinion, they'd ask for it. This is my show, so I'm going to give my opinion. You can always afford a great quarterback. Like, if you don't have the quarterback in place, you're screwed. There's no two ways of looking about it, man. Like, you can't go out there and go, okay, well, we'll figure the quarterback thing out later. We're going to put all our stock in a first-round rookie quarterback who was not the most appealing coming out of college. Nobody was saying J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in this draft. Late offseason, kind of surge. We had him a little bit lower than other quarterbacks on our board, right? And then he gets hurt his rookie year. And what happens? He gets hurt his rookie year and misses all of training camp. And then he goes into his first training camp as a starter. And it's like, you think he's just going to go out there and perform like Sam Darnold? And, like I always try to do, I kind of took a step back and was like, hey, guy, I guess it could happen. I'm not betting my hard-earned money on it, right? I'm not doing that. So what happened? He went out there and he showed some flashes, and then he crapped the bed. It doesn't mean that J.J. McCarthy can't be a great quarterback, but that's the perfect example of what not to do with a young quarterback. Hey, we're just going to throw you into the fire. We know you haven't played a single snap of regular season football in the NFL. This is your team. Run with it. How often does that pan out? How often does that work? Very rarely, right? I'm trying to see if I got where we had him at. Yeah, this is the order in which we had the quarterbacks, okay? And again, this wasn't my personal opinion. I'll give my personal opinion. I would have taken Jaden Daniels. Me personally, I like Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams. If it had been my personal opinion, the quarterback ranking here would be different, and I'll explain that in a second. Here's what our board said the quarterback rankings were. Caleb Williams 1, Drake May 2, Jaden Daniels 3, Michael Penix 4, and it's significantly lower. And then you have Bo Nix 5, J.J. McCarthy 6. And the Vikings thought J.J. McCarthy, the sixth best quarterback in that draft, they thought this quarterback is 6 quarterbacks deep, and we're going to get us a stud at quarterback. And then just throw him to the Wolves. Like, if you throw Jaden Daniels to the Wolves, a guy that just came out of a situation there in LSU where it was more of a pro style, and it didn't rely as much on the run. Like, that offense went through Jaden Daniels, right? That's a different situation. But the way I would have ranked the quarterbacks, I personally like Jaden Daniels 1, Drake May 2, Caleb Williams 3, and then it dropped off to the order of I actually like Bo Nix. When I grouped them together and I did the breakdown on the show, I actually like Bo Nix up there with the top 4. I was very high on Bo Nix, and I got raked over the coals because he was older, right? But again, why did J.J. McCarthy struggle? It's not that he's not talented, lack of experience, but we're going to knock Bo Nix for having played more football in college. You know, people are speaking out both sides of their mouth when they say that, right? So, and I know college is different than the pros, right? Completely get that. However, quarterback for the Packers here. Here are the MVP odds, early MVP odds. Okay, 2026, 2027 NFL MVP opening odds. Number 1, Josh Allen plus 600. Number 2, Lamar Jackson plus 750. Number 3, Drake May plus 850. 4 is Joe Burrow plus 1,000. 5 is Justin Herbert plus 1,100. Pat Mahomes is right there at 5th with him at plus 1,100. Then it's Dak Prescott plus 1,300. Matt Stafford plus 1,400. Then Jordan Love at plus 1,500. So Jordan Love is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th or 9th on the MVP offseason. Here's the MVP odds. Now, again, is MVP everything? No. Why am I bringing up MVP then if I could care less if our quarterback wins the MVP? The reason I always bring it up is he in the conversation with the upper echelon of quarterbacks? That's the question. Like, if you go to EPA per dropback, Jordan Love was the second best quarterback in the league this year. If you go to passing yards, that would suggest now he's closer to 10, maybe just outside of 10. If you go to touchdown interception ratio and passer rating, you go, oh, he's actually top 5 quarterback, right? So it depends on what stats you think are most important. We try to take it all, throw it in a pot with the PFF grades, watch the tape, watch him threading the needle, watch his accuracy improve. As long as your quarterback is a top 10 caliber quarterback, you protect the football, you've got a chance to win the whole thing. That's the point here. Again, it's not about will Jordan Love, has he been disrespected? Will he be the MVP? It's about, for me, is your quarterback good enough to win the whole thing? And I think he is. So that's my take on that when it comes to kind of the MVP odds and as well as the Super Bowl champion odds. So I'm curious to know, you guys are watching this back later, and I'm going to try to hit some of the comments. Let's hit some of the comments real quick, okay? Jaco, this is probably the thing that popped up to everybody, right? He says, why the HE double hockey sticks is Justin Herbert before Love, Prescott, and Mahomes. Herbert's interesting. When he came in the league, I didn't expect him to be as good as he was. And he just popped. Bang. Right? I was like, holy cow, this cat is way better than I thought he was. And now he's kind of tapered off. I tend to agree with you here, Jay, that he shouldn't be above Love. He shouldn't be above Prescott and Mahomes as well. Now, MVP odds are a little tricky. It's suggesting who has the best chance, right, of winning the MVP. Not necessarily they're the better quarterback. I think there's been times in the past where we've looked up and said, okay, this quarterback won MVP, but he wasn't the best quarterback in the league. Recently, I haven't felt like that, but there's been times like that in the past. But I understand. I agree with what you're saying, Jay. A year and a half, 2 years ago, I put Justin Herbert above Love. Now I got Love above Herbert, definitely. So you're seeing Love continue to get better. He made a huge improvement this year, guys. Huge improvement. Daryl says Jordan Love sitting at plus 1,000. So he's probably got different odds, or is that what? Yeah, he must have different odds there. So again, I had them group this together and kind of pull from multiple sources. So if that's accurate, just name where you got those odds from there, Daryl, if you don't care, man, because again, everybody's a little bit different here in that regard. Let's see here. Mike Z says, how about Sean Payton? Flaming Bo, man, I love Matt LaFleur. Yeah, it was kind of weird, right? Kind of weird. Him and Bo going back and forth at each other. But that's two emotionally charged people. There's no doubt about that, man. No doubt about that. Carney in the chat says defense wins championships. It does. It does. But boy, oh boy, if I was looking at that Seahawks defense last night, and all I was thinking to myself was, I know we could have been more effective than the Patriots offense. And going into the game, we had a little Super Bowl party, and people were asking me, like, well, who do you got here tonight? Who do you got here tonight? I said, I really don't care who wins. If Seattle wins, that's a former general manager for the, a former executive for the Green Bay Packers, right? So I'd like to see John Schneider continue to solidify his place in pro football, which, by the way, man, he's creating one hell of a resume. There's no two ways about that. Been there since 2010, been a while, right? But still, he's put together an awesome program. So I can root for that. I also want Sam Darnold to win just because it looks so bad on the Vikings, right? Let's be honest. I'm a little bit petty like that. And then also on the other side, though, it's like I really like Mike Vrabel and everything he stands for, the type of coach he is, the type of man he is. You know, he just seems like a former player, his players are going to respect him, this and that. I like Drake May. We had him high on our board, and I think he's a good quarterback. So I just kind of sat back like, I really don't care. Well, who do you think's going to win? And the first thing I went to was, man, if the Broncos had Bo Nix against the Patriots, I think the Broncos beat the Patriots. I really felt like that. Obviously that was just such a bad thing that happened there with the ankle and losing Bo Nix like they did. So I ran it through that filter and said, yeah, I think the Seahawks are going to dominate this game. And they did. They did. So, but yeah, great point there, man. Defense does win championships. It's true. But if you ain't got an offense, good luck, Yeah, it's like the Patriots last night. I don't think the Patriots defense played bad. Do you guys? But what did their offense do? Their offense couldn't do anything. So you can credit the Seattle's defense, absolutely, but you also got to take into consideration that the Patriots weren't built very good up front. So it both goes hand in hand, right? Goes hand in hand for sure. So I'm curious to know if you guys watch this back later. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about the Packers Super Bowl odds? Do you think it's too high? Do you think it's too low? How do you feel about the MVP odds? Do you think that Jordan Love's being disrespected? Is it right where you expected it? And how do you think he maybe needs to play to be successful this coming season? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on our future live streams. All right, let's shift gears now, guys. I want to do another off-season model here, if that's all right with y'all. Again, we did one yesterday, and we use Stick to the Model. You guys got to check this website out. It's absolutely awesome. Go follow them on X as well. Just go to sticktothemodel.com, and you can go through and simulate your own offseason. It's absolutely phenomenal. So what did we do yesterday? We ran through a model where we proved, here's how you go get Tyler Linderbaum. Okay, you can afford to get Tyler Linderbaum. You can afford to get Trayvon Diggs. Now, you got to cut loose of some players, right? Again, I'm ready to move on from Elton Jenkins unless it's a discounted rate. I'm prepared to move on from Aaron Banks unless it's a discounted rate. I don't know why he would take a pay cut, to be honest with you. But if he were to, I would be okay with bringing him back. But what I decided to do in this model and what we did yesterday was to move on from Aaron Banks. Yesterday, we just did an outright cut pre-June 1. Today, we're going to do a post-June 1 cut. Keep in mind, we got to carry that cap until post-June 1. But I think we're going to have the maneuverability to make it happen. So here are the moves that we're doing, okay? Here is what we're kicking off with. Aaron Banks, we're doing a post-June 1 cut, okay? So these are the cuts that we made. And we're cutting Elton Jenkins outright, so that's going to free up a ton of money for us. So now all of a sudden, our cap space is sitting at $40 million. And I've noticed that his site is constantly adjusting. It's tweaking market value for certain players. So some of these values may be a little bit different today. But nonetheless, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, we're moving on from. Rashawn Gary, we restructured his contract, and we freed up $8.4 million. Now, I'm going to say this again. If you think that Rashawn Gary should be cut outright, I get it. I completely understand. I can understand why people would feel like that. It kind of feels like it's time that we maybe move on from Gary. I want him back at the right price. If he says, nope, not taking a pay cut, then, and this isn't a pay cut. This is just a restructure. This is pushing some money out. So this is being aggressive in a sense, but it's the only way that we can simulate in this Stick to the Model website. It's the only way that I know of that we can simulate. All right, we're just going to restructure. We're going to ask him to take a little bit of a pay cut, guarantee a little bit of money, make it worth his time, worth his while, and we keep Gary on. Maybe we can kick him to 3-tech a little bit. He can also give you some edge presence outside. He still had a 12.5% quarterback pressure percentage last year. He was second on the team in sacks. He was arguably our best run defender outside of Micah Parsons with the run stops, continuing to play well there. All those things, to me, is worth getting him back for a certain price. Now, with that being said, we restructured. We freed up $8.4 million. Okay, Josh Jacobs, we restructured and freed up $4.5 million. Not a pay cut, just a simple restructure. Okay, so that's where we're at in that sense. Now, that's your cuts, that's your restructures. Now signings. We're on to signings next here. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and fast forward ahead, and now we're in the signings period. Now, who did we sign already? We already signed our boy, Trayvon Diggs, okay? I'm pretty sure it's already in the bank. I think it already showed it. Let me go back. I tried to get some of this legwork out. Yeah, so Trayvon Diggs. We got him on a 3-year deal at $8.7 million. I think we could have got him at $5 million, but I felt like I was cheating the system. So I amped it up to 8.7, okay? I did that on purpose because I wanted it to be more realistic. So again, you go into the situation, you're moving on from Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins. You did a couple of simple restructures, and then you go ahead and re-sign Trayvon Diggs. Now, again, it kind of treats it like a re-sign with this model. However, that's something that he would get a chance to test free agency. So that number may blimp. It may go down. People may not think his market's there too. I doubt that. I think somebody will be willing to overpay. So you're probably looking at $8 to $10 million per for Trayvon Diggs if you want to go get him. That's the cornerback I've chosen. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that right now. Now, we're $40 million under the cap. Remember, the only thing that we're going to attack here in free agency is we're going to try to shore up defensive tackle. We're going to go get the most expensive defensive tackle in free agency. Okay, that's going to be our goal here. That's what we're going to want to do. And this is these are the questions that can kind of slow us down, Coach. I'm okay with doing this. Coach Lynn says, bring Sean Ryan back. How do y'all feel about that? Let's do it. Let's say in this scenario here, we're going to bring back Sean Ryan. Okay. And we're just going to go off the market value that they show here. All right. And it's not much, to be honest with you, looking at it here. If we go re-sign, it's saying if his market value is $3.1 million per year. I'm okay with that. As a matter of fact, I'm okay with the 4.6. That's 49% above the market value. Let's see if he will take, let's just get it down to 4. And how old is he? He's 26 years old. Let's try to give him a 3-year deal on that. All right. So we're going to go 3 years, $4 million per for Sean Ryan. Would everybody be okay with that? Like Coach Lynn says, we need interior depth, right? Completely agree. Completely agree. Like you're kind of setting that basement, the foundation, the floor for your center room, right? We know he can play center in a pinch. He can compete at guard. To me, that's backup money there too. $4 million per is nothing. Let's see if he'll accept it. All right, there you go. Bang. So we brung back Sean Ryan. All right. We also brung back or signed in free agency Trayvon Diggs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on, we're not getting Tyler Linderbaum this time. We're going to focus on diving into the draft and getting offensive linemen. But before we do, we are going to shore up defensive tackle. This is going to get a little bit long-winded, so you guys hang with me. I'm going to try to explain this off screen. There's going to be some free agents that maybe aren't popping up right here on the screen, but I'm going to tell you or explain to you, here are the market value rankings of the defensive tackles according to Spot Track, okay? Calais Campbell, $10.9 million. David Onyemata, $8.5 million. Logan Hall, $7.9 million. John Franklin Myers, $7.8 million. Sheldon Rankin, $7.5 million. Sebastian Joseph, $6.8 million. Cam Jordan, $6.7 million. We've talked about this before. There's a few names here. Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, and Logan Hall are the ones that I'm most interested in. And here's why. Calais Campbell looks like he's still got some gas in the tank. He's still playing good football, right? That'd be a great presence there at defensive tackle to help kind of build the floor for us. If we approach it that way, okay, and we sign Calais Campbell in free agency, I think that truly does help your defensive tackle position. David Onyemata, I think, had a little bit better year than Calais Campbell. He's 33 years old. Calais Campbell's 39 years old. I get it. And he may hit the wall this year. They've been saying that for the last 3 or 4 years, really the last 5 years when it comes to Calais Campbell. But with David Onyemata, 33 years old, how about a 2 or a 3-year deal? And you can get out of it after 1, right? And let's just kind of patch this thing up. Well, why would we be interested in David Onyemata? His PFF grade is 78.2 this year, okay? Pass rush, 67.1. Run defense, 74.2. Okay, so there's a solid defensive tackle. Now, where did Calais Campbell lie? 72.2. So if you just went strictly off PFF grade and age, you would say David Onyemata is the better choice, right? So why is Logan Hall being mentioned? Logan Hall has a lower PFF grade. He graded out a 66.8. But here's the thing about Logan Hall. Logan Hall is a former second-round pick, 33rd overall, which means he's a borderline, back-end first-round pick, essentially, right? You're really splitting hairs when you talk about a early second or a late first to an early second pick. But he's an ascending player. According to PFF, he started significant snaps his entire time. He stayed somewhat healthy, okay? 2022, 36 was his PFF grade, right? Ugh. Okay. 2023, 52.3. So he went from 36 to 52. 2024, he went from 52 to 59. Not a huge jump, but he's getting better. And then this year is 66.8. The trend is he's an ascending player. Now, if you remove the ascension, how much would you be willing to pay for someone who graded out a 66.8? You wouldn't think it'd be a lot of money, right? So that's what makes this decision tough. So again, Logan Hall's market value is $7.9 million. They're showing 7.9 as his market value, as opposed to a David Onyemata at 8.5. Now, Pause. Timeout. Think about this. Who are our starting defensive tackles? Devontae Wyatt, hopefully he'll be healthy for week 1. You got Warren Brinson, you got Nazir Stackhouse, you got Kobe Wooden, right? Are any of those, do you consider any of those, or man, they're top 10 at their position? They're, top 20 at their position? I don't think we would, right? I'm not saying that any or all of those players are bad football players, but they're not like needle movers, in my opinion, right? So, with that being said, remember what we paid for Linderbaum? We went out with Tyler Linderbaum, and we paid, what was it, $17 million per was the deal that we landed on this model side here, right? So what if we allocated $17 million to go get 2 defensive tackles, if this model will permit us to do so? If we do that, what would the 2 be? Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, Logan Hall. Which of those 3, if we've got it narrowed down to 3, which of those 3 would we like? For me personally, I would go David Onyemata and I would go Logan Hall. 8.5 million, 7.9 million. Let's just round it up to 8 million. You're looking at 16.5 million. What if we were able to go out and get 2 defensive tackles to shore up the defensive tackle position with the money we would have spent on Linderbaum? Let's try it. Let's see if we can do it. All right. So let's try to find David Onyemata. There he is. Let's see what the market value is for him. Market value 7.4. Let's go off of Spot Track, okay? Because it's more. So we're not cheating the system. Let's take it up. It says 8.5 there. 7.4 is what it's showing here. So let's keep it at 8.9, okay? 8.9. Let's do a 3-year deal that's really going to be a 1 year plus 2, okay? Essentially. So let's go ahead and hit that. Offer accepted. So you went out and you got David Onyemata at defensive tackle. Now, where's Logan Hall? Where is Logan Hall at? And that's assuming, again, that these guys are going to be available. Is he even on the list? There may be a glitch. This is my first run through here trying to get a D tackle. Let's see if we can find Logan Hall, because they may not have him as a free agent. There he is. Boom. All right. So Logan Hall, his market value. I see the super chat there. Mike, appreciate you, buddy. I'll hit it in just a second, man. You're awesome. So market value $7 million. Okay. It's got our offer set at 11.6. We ended up paying right at 9 for the other. So we're going to lower this a touch to make it work. We're going to give him a 4-year deal. Let's see if he'll accept. Let's get it closer to the market value. Let's say 9.3 million. What do y'all think? That sound good to you? Let's do it. Bang. Offer accepted. So now what you've done is you went and got Onyemata. All right. And you've gotten Logan Hall as defensive tackles, right? So you've now shored up your defensive tackle room a touch, right? But what's the downside? You didn't go get your boy Tyler Linderbaum, right? That did not happen. So when we look at it like that, and we now go back to all of our free agents, our cap space is sitting at 17.8 million right now, guys. So we still got 17.8 million. Again, to the former player that said we can't afford Tyler Linderbaum. And again, Tyler Linderbaum may not be 17 million. He may break the 20 million. If he breaks the 22 million mark, you can still afford it. Again, what did Ted Thompson say? I want the player. If you want the player, you make the numbers work, you go get him if you think he is the difference maker. Now, defensive tackle, tier 1 of importance, center, tier 2 of importance. I'm kind of liking how we're pressing into this situation right here, if that makes sense. So, with that being said, Mike, let me hit the super chat real quick, and then we'll keep it moving here. He says, I have a vision, Clayton. Cowboys release Kenny Clark. He comes back home at a cheaper deal in Green Bay. Our D-line is Micah, Wyatt, Kenny, and LVM, Sorrell, and Oliver as bench players. We cut Gary. Don't have an issue with that at all, Mike. I think that's a great point. I would be okay with that. And again, people go, well, Kenny's not great. Kenny's not great. Nobody's saying he's great. Is he good? Yeah, he was a good defensive lineman. Why does his numbers drop? We showed you on the tape. He's battling a foot injury, and they had him playing touch spy in the 1 tech. We expected him to kick the 3 tech when Hafley came in. They went the opposite route. They played him at 1 and put Wyatt at 3, right? So Kenny was having to battle through, just playing a touch spy essentially, which is engaging with the double team on purpose in the A gap, and then kind of spying the quarterback, making sure he doesn't scramble, and also keying in on the run, right? So I don't hate that idea, Mike. I think it's a great idea, dude. Great idea. So now, looking at these players that we could potentially bring back, is there somebody on our roster that we want to bring back? I don't want to get crazy with this because I want to move on to the draft and see how we can shore up some of these other important positions. And we're not going to go after Malik Willis. They got Malik Willis listed at 4.9. I think we all agree he's probably going to get more than that. Although quarterbacks like Kyler Murray are now all of a sudden becoming available, right? It looks like they may be trade bait. So that weakens the market a bit. I'd love to have Malik Willis back. For $10 million per or less, I'd be okay with bringing Malik back personally. So with that being said, if we were to bring, and keep in mind too, these restricted free agents guys, we're going to be bringing those guys back too. That's going to be happening. Like Darian Kennard, he'll be on the, anybody who's listed as restricted or exclusive rights, I always just bank on them being on the roster. If the Packers want them back, they can get them back at a really good rate or great compensation if somebody outbids. So you can bring those guys back. I kind of treat those like they're already on the roster. But you guys know who I'm talking about here. There's a handful of players. Romeo Doubs, $24.2 million is what it's showing him at. He's going to be priced out of our range if that's the case. He's 26 years old, right? And again, we want to see more Matthew Golden rather than Romeo Doubs. I think we would agree. Rasheed Walker, $13.9 million. Remember what I said? I'd be okay with bringing Rasheed back at $10 million, but anything over 10, I just think you're overpaying for that. So we're not going to touch that. Kingsland Igbare, they're projecting $14.5 million. 14.5. And then you got Quay Walker. This is interesting. You guys know Quay Walker. Quay Walker. I've been vocal that I want Quay back at the right price. What's that price? Just like Rasheed Walker, that $10 million mark, that's the cutoff for me. Can't do it. Can't have it. Can't do it. Okay. Same thing with Quay. I think Quay is an above average to good linebacker in the league. Okay. I do not think he's great. You're willing to overpay for great. You're not willing to overpay for good. He's not even very good. I would put him somewhere between good and above average. It's showing his market value at 7.3. So in this situation, will we be willing to pay Quay Walker $7.3 million to come back? A 3-year deal, $7 million per, $21 million. Let's give him $10 million guaranteed. So essentially it's a 2-year, $10 million deal that you can get out of after really in year 2, you could get out of it. Would you be willing to do it? I want y'all to fire off yes or no to Quay. Yes or no to Quay as quick as possible. Coach Lynn says yes. I'm leaning that way too, Coach. Again, this is if Quay's market doesn't blow up. Some people were expecting him to be $15 million per. Nobody's saying we should sign him if he reaches that point, right? So what would we be willing to pay Quay Walker? Are we okay with $7 million per, guys? Let me know in the chat. I know Coach Lynn's on board. We'll get at least one more yes or a no here. I'm going to sign him anyway. I just want to know how you guys are feeling about it, okay? Carney in the chat says Quay Walker is a beast. We just didn't have the right scheme pay him, all right? So he's on board with paying him, all right? And I love everybody's reaction because we've been critical of Quay, right? Chris Casualian says, how much for Quay? $7 million? Hell yeah, right? Jen Wright, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Tony Canadeo said, as long as it's below 11 million, right? So we're now stretching it from 10 to 11, and I can understand making the case there. I really can. So very, very, I think we're on board. So we're going to see if we can get Quay for, now, see how it blimps at the 10? We're going to try to get it closer to that. We're going to try to get it closer to the 7.3. Let's split the difference and make it realistic. Let's say $8 million, okay? So we're going to do it 8. Let's see if he'll take it. He did. So we bring back Quay Walker at linebacker too. So again, that is the setup for going into the draft. We did not get an offensive lineman. We didn't even touch it. We didn't even look at it. We're going to do that in the draft. We went and got David Onyemata and Logan Hall at defensive tackle. And then we also went and got linebacker Quay Walker for a discounted rate. So now your linebacker room, I don't want to say it's set. Like Coach Lynn mentioned a name here, Jacob Rodriguez. Really, really like Rodriguez. He says, got to get Rodriguez in this draft. He's definitely my draft crush when it comes to linebackers right now, Coach, and it's early. But, yeah, I'm with you on that, man, for sure. So not opposed to it. You still may be able to do it in the draft, right? It's definitely not a top need, but if the board falls just right, I'd be okay with it. So with all that being said, that's what we've done throughout the free agency process. So a quick recap. We cut Elton Jenkins. We cut Aaron Banks. We restructured Rashawn Gary, restructured Josh Jacobs. We signed in free agency cornerback Trayvon Diggs, okay, for discounted rate of what he had on his previous average annual value was like $19 million per, right? We're bringing him in 3 years, $8 million per, okay? We got defensive tackle Onyemata and Logan Hall, and we brought back linebacker Quay Walker. I like that. Now the stage is set for the draft. And what are we going to do, guys? We're going to be very aggressive with offensive line, and also we're still looking at cornerback. We're not thinking that Trayvon Diggs is going to come in and completely revamp and fix this cornerback room, right? We want to get a young stud at cornerback as long as the board allows us to. So with that being said, Let me know in the comments. You're watching this video back later. That's going to conclude the free agency segment of this offseason rebuild. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about what we did in free agency? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? All opinions are welcome. How do you feel about bringing in Trayvon Diggs at corner, linebacker Quay Walker, and then defensive tackles Onyemata and Logan Hall to help bolster the interior? Again, why did the Seahawks win last night? They were strong up front. I'm not saying that Onyemata and Logan Hall are going to make us the best defensive front in football. However, you add those pieces along with Devontae Wyatt, a healthy Micah Parsons, bringing back Rashawn Gary restructured. I really like, not to mention Colin Oliver and Barron Sorrell, some of these young LVN we haven't even talked about. You're loaded on defensive end or defensive front now, right? Even if you decide to move on from Gary, you still feel good about that. But let us know in the comments what do you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon. And we're going to now jump into the NFL draft portion. So we hope to see y'all over there. All right, moving along now, guys. Moving along to the draft. So we know what we've done. We've set the stage. Our top needs now are going to be, and I'm going to list them out. We're going to go O-line, cornerback, O-line again, and then we're going to list out, we'll probably go linebacker and tight end. It doesn't mean we won't get another defensive lineman if the draft falls just right, but that's where we're at. Offensive line, cornerback, offensive line, linebacker, and tight end. Let's continue to the draft. And look at our cap space, guys. We're sitting at $9.8 million under the cap. How nice is that, right? And again, we did post June 1 with Aaron Banks, so that kicks some money to next year when we go to do the extension for Christian Watson or whoever else that we want to do the extension for, right? Whoever we want to do that, we are now in a situation where we can re-sign that player, Christian Watson. You know, if it's $22 million per, if it's $25 million per, whatever number you put on him, if you think he's the guy, he's going to be our wide receiver 1 moving forward, then you're in a good spot to do that for sure. So we're going to go 7 round, but I'm going to try to do it fast, guys. I don't want to be on here all day. I want to make this as quick as possible. But let's go ahead and hit this mock draft. All right, we're going to start it. We're going to go rapid fashion here, so it just goes really, really fast. Let's go ahead. Unfortunately, Fernando Mendoza is a Raider once again. God love his heart. It is what it is. So, again, offensive line and cornerback is what we're going to place on the board here. Interior offensive line, offensive tackle, and we're going to go corner. At the top of the list, what do we got? Connor Lew, center, is the best prospect available according to sticktothemodel.com. All right, we're not saying that's the way it would be. That's just how this one's lining up right here. So Connor Lew, ACL, probably not going to be available till at the earliest September, maybe October. Okay, again, he's a center. Could he play center? They've got him listed as the best center here, right? You guys know I've got Jake Slaughter as the best center. Actually, you've got our boy Brian Parker too. That's a name that's been linked with the Packers. They've met with him. He's going to play center, so we're going to treat that as such when we go through this. Blake Miller's been the player we've been taking, right? That's not a center though. Now we did bring back. I forgot we brought back Sean Ryan too, didn't we, guys? Did we re-sign Ryan? I think we did. Yeah, we did. That's when I left off. So you got a kind of a backup plan for center at Sean Ryan. So you don't necessarily have to reach, although we would love to make that work, right? So the best center available is going to be Jake Slaughter. He's not until number 95. And then you got Brian Parker at 105. Now I'm going to cross-check these with our draft board to make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck. Notice what we're seeing here, though, guys. Who's the best cornerbacks? Julian Neal, Davison. I'm always going to screw that. I'm just going to say Davison, all right, out of Ohio State. I don't know his name yet. Traden Stukes out of Arizona is another corner. Malik Muhammad is a cornerback. I think the Packers have met with him, I believe. He's number 81 on this board here. And then you got Devin Moore. So you could see that cornerback is really not lining up that well. I'm going to remove the offensive line. Julian Neal, you get Davison kid from Ohio State, Traden Stukes from Arizona, Malik Muhammad from Texas, Chandler Rivers from Duke. Remember, that's a pick we made. I want to say that was our best pick at 84 when we did this yesterday, right? Let me resort my board here. If y'all bear with me, we're going to go through and kind of check these real quick and see who is the best corner right now and where can we get the best bang for our buck. So Julian Neal is 95th. All right. 95th. Let's go Ig. If I can get it in here. All right. He is the Davison kid out of Ohio State is 111. So Julian Neal at 98 is your best pick right now. Stukes is 163. Okay. Muhammad is 216. Chandler Rivers is 77. So once again, it looks like Chandler Rivers is going to be the cornerback. Devin Moore is 182. Dalen Everett is 238. So yeah, so it's definitely the best pick here at corner is Chandler Rivers. All right. And again, we've got him in the 77 spot. All right. Now let's go gather up our best offensive linemen here. All right. Remove the corners. We're going interior offensive line and offensive tackle. Who is going to be the best? It's probably going to be Miller, right? Blake Miller was the best available for us yesterday. Now, keep in mind, he is a tackle. We'd have to do a little research on whether he can play guard. He's in the 44 spot. All right. You've got World is 93. Santos is 107. Barber is 88. Slaughter is 48. This is interesting. This is really interesting. So you got Blake Miller at 44, and you got Jake Slaughter at 48. So now we're going to check Parker just to make sure. And Brian Parker, if I can find him here, give me just a second. Brian Parker is 66. So the Packers have met with him already. Here's what it comes down to. You can get the 44th best prospect at center, or is it 47? I've already forgotten now. Let me go down on the board here real quick. So you could go Blake Miller at tackle out of Clemson at 44, or you can go Jake Slaughter at 48. I want to make you guys make the decision. Who are you taking here, guys? Miller is graded slightly higher, but they're going to be in the same tier, I believe. Yep, 41.8 there and 44.4. So even though Miller has a slightly better grade, they're in the same tier. This is what we would call a cluster. So what's your cluster buster? Would you rather have Jake Slaughter, a true center, right? Elite PFF grades around 80, demonstrate consistently high-level performance across SEC competition. We've talked about him time and time again. Or would you rather go Blake Miller, who's a tackle, right? Again, never missed a start in his career. 2,893 career offensive snaps, quick and agile for the tackle position, fluid, all those things. It doesn't say anything about potentially. Yeah, here we go. Look, weakness, 0 snaps at guard. So they don't really see him as a guard. To me, the pick is Jake Slaughter here. And I know Mike says Connor Lew. Just know this, Mike. Connor Lew, he's got an ACL he's coming off of. He's probably not going to be available till like October. Okay. And on our board, Connor Lew, he is no longer the top. He's in the 56th spot. So our board, and I'm not saying our board is right and you're wrong. Okay. That's just how the board shakes out. Jake Slaughter grades higher on our board than Connor Lew, and there's no injury there. Okay. So that's why we're making it, basing on that. So what we're going to do here, Tim says Linderbaum. We already passed that, but we're doing a different exercise today. Oh man. So Coach Lynn says draft Miller and move Tom to center, ? These are the questions you got to ask, right? Coach, I'm not crazy opposed to that. However, I am so sick of moving people around, man. We know Tom can do it, though. We feel of course, I felt confident that Elton Jenkins could do it, seeing that he played center his entire college career. So it's a great question. I think what I'm going to do here, guys, because if Blake Miller was he says, I know, right? I'm with you, Joseph. I'm tired of moving, guys. I'm tired. That's too damn bad. So, y'all like that. I'm going to go Jake Slaughter because they're in the same tier. All right. Again, if Blake Miller was in a higher tier on our board than Jake Slaughter, he's got a higher grade just slightly. If he was in a higher tier, then you go, okay, we're reaching for a position of need. Just go with Blake Miller and we'll adjust as we go, right? We're going to go Jake Slaughter here. So at center, we're going to take Jake Slaughter. And again, he is the center out of Florida. Let me just write that in real quick. Make sure we don't double up on offensive line too aggressively here. So Jake Slaughter is going to be our pick at 52. They'll say it's a bad pick on here. Again, we have Jake Slaughter in the 47 mark, I believe. So there is your center of the future. And again, we don't care how they grade us on here because we're going off our board and trying to find these value picks. So now you've already got your center, okay? So we still need more offensive line help. I think we would agree. We completely neglected it other than bringing back Rashawn Ryan. So now you're going to have a camp battle between rookie second-round pick Jake Slaughter and veteran Sean Ryan that you brought back on a great deal, right? So there's your battle at center. Don't forget about Jacob Monk too. What if Jacob Monk outperforms both of them? Then you work on seeing who would be the better left guard. And you know what? You got a second-round pick is a solid option as your backup center if you just move Sean Ryan to left guard because we already moved on from Aaron Banks, right? So I don't hate that idea either. So let's throw interior offensive line. If I can get it up there. And let's just reset everything. We'll go interior offensive line, offensive tackle. Keep in mind, we still need a corner. Look who's on the board, boys. Best available is Chandler Rivers. We do this every year, and every year there's a name that constantly pops up, right? It's like, oh, wow, he's going to be there when we pick. We got to nab him, right? Chandler Rivers seems to be that cornerback. So what I'm going to do here for time's sake, we're running out of time. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make the decision to go corner here from Duke, okay? He's the highest on our board. So again, at pick 84, Chandler Rivers is the 77th best prospect on our board. Again, Jake Slaughter was 47th. So we're going to go Chandler Rivers, cornerback out of Duke is going to be our pick here, all right? Bang. So now we got our cornerback to help bolster the cornerback position on the roster, right? You brought back Trayvon Diggs. You still got Keyshawn Nixon. You've still got Carrington Valentine. You've got Javon Bullard in the slot. You still got Nate Hobbs. Hopefully he'll take that year or two step in the system and being fully healthy. He's also your backup slot corner, which I think is a good place to be. Now, Chandler Rivers, third-round pick, gets to compete for a place there as well. So going to be really, really, really interesting to see how this all shakes out. We got to go fast now. You're going to notice we're going to come off of corner now, okay, and we're going to go interior offensive line and tackle. Here are your best offensive linemen available: Jude Bowery, Cage Casey, J.C. Davis, Bo Stevens, Marge Adams. You got Alex Harkey, Demetrius Crownover, all right? So these are just some of the names toward the top. I think we all agree our pick right here is probably going to be Bo Stevens. I'm going to run through and look real quick. I think everybody would agree Bo Stevens would be a great pick. Let's go Bowery first. Bowery on our board is 103. Casey is 94. All right, so that's our best pick so far. J.C. Davis is 102, so it's still Cage Casey at 94. And then you get to our boy Bo Stevens, who is 86 on the board. I just want to check a couple more here. Reed Adams is 113. Wouldn't be a bad pick, but still, we can get better value right now. Harkey is way lower on our board, way lower. Crownover was one that had a good Senior Bowl week. I believe he was at the Senior Bowl, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he got the 5-point bonus, but he's still at 172. So that's one that you want to keep an eye on there, maybe into the 5th and 6th round possibly. So, yeah, this is a no-brainer. No-brainer. We're going to go get Bo Stevens, guard out of Iowa, okay? He's in the 86th spot on our board. So we're going to go ahead and pencil him in. We got our other offensive lineman. We get him as the 86th best prospect. So all of our picks right now have been top 100 prospects on our board, and we're already at pick 120. So I feel like we're doing good with how this is shaking out. So Stevens is going to be your pick at offensive line there at pick 120. Bo Stevens out of Iowa, you are a Green Bay Packers, sir. How y'all feel about the draft so far, guys? How y'all feeling about it? We went and got our center of the future, Jake Slaughter. Then you came back and got a cornerback in Rivers, the 77th best prospect that we got at 84. And you come back at 120 and you get our boy Bo Stevens, who is the 86th best prospect, right? So now we're to the point where, okay, what have we shored up in free agency? You brought back Trayvon Diggs at corner. You went and signed 2 defensive tackles because you notice there's not been – defensive tackles have not shaken out well for us in the draft. You went and got Onyemata and Logan Hall. You also brought back Quay Walker. You shored up the backup center spot in Sean Ryan. So you're good there. He'll probably compete for a starting guard job. And now what you've essentially got is Sean Ryan. Let's say that Jake Slaughter beats Sean Ryan out for starting center. You've got Sean Ryan, rookie Bo Stevens, and second-round pick last year, Anthony Belton. Those 3 guys competing for 2 guard spots. No matter which 2 win, you're already feeling better about your offensive line being better, right? Now, again, I want to be very clear. I want Tyler Linderbaum. But this is an exercise showing that if we steered away from signing Tyler Linderbaum and got aggressive with defensive tackle, because that's not shaking out in the draft for us with where we're picking with no first-round pick, this might be the better route to go. So other needs, we'll go rapid fire here. I won't spend too much time on these. I know we've got a handful of players that we do like at each position. Let's add linebacker and tight end, okay? Let's go linebacker and tight end. What names grab our attention right off the bat? Is there anybody? There's Red Murdoch, boys. Red Murdoch's very, very interesting. To me, I already see the names that are most appealing to me, but we probably need to run through them here. What's the most? There's more tight ends than linebackers here, right? Yeah, definitely. And our boy Rodriguez is gone, obviously, coach. He's gonna be long gone at this point. Red Murdoch is the one that comes to mind. Emilio's going to be mad if we don't take him, but that's even more of a reason to not take him. We got him in the 110 spot, okay? So let's go through and see where these tight ends sit. So Red Murdoch's 110 at linebacker. Tight ends, you got Daquan Wright at 139, all right? You got Bentley at 161. You got Aiden Fisher is way down the board. He's probably going to be in the 300s, to be honest with you. His grade isn't finalized yet. Eli Raridan is interesting out of Notre Dame. 108 for him. 108 for Eli Raridan. That wouldn't be a bad pick here. Sam Roush at 254. We got Cuevas. He may not even be on the board. I think he is. Yeah, Cuevas is 166 on our board. And then you got Bryce. I don't know how to say that name. Is it Boettcher, maybe? Boettcher? Let me get the name right here. TTC. He's 213, way down. Marlon Klein is 170. And then Red Murdoch, of course, is 110. So what it comes down to, guys, is, and you got Tanner down there too. This is where it gets really interesting. Our next pick, what is our next pick? I'm trying to think of where we pick next. Does it show me on the screen, does it? All right, we're not going to fool with it too much. So Tanner Kazoil is 97th on the board. It's showing a reach here for us right now, but here's the reality. There's less linebackers available than there are tight ends. You notice there's a ton of tight ends, so they're kind of getting clustered up. You're getting the tight end position that's dropping significantly, right? And I see the super chat. Might get to it in just a second, buddy. Thank you so much. I'm going to go with Red Murdoch here, okay? It's going to look like a bit of a reach on their system, but we're getting a guy, in my opinion, it's like a top 120 prospect, and we're getting him at 158. So if we go ahead and shore up linebacker here, right? Let's go ahead and grab that for depth. Again, we brought back Quay, but now you got Red Murdoch, a young prospect that's looking pretty promising. We'll see if that bites us in the butt, not going after a tight end in that situation, right? So if we bounce back now, and let's just look real quick. We got Murdoch. He was the 110th best prospect we got in the 150s, right? 110, Murdoch. Okay, so we're filling that in. Now all we're really looking at is tight end. I think we all agree we probably need to go after a tight end here. So if we just go tight ends on the board, look who's there, boys. It works out every time. Tanner Kazoil. Tanner Kazoil on our board at tight end is Koziol, 97th on our board. So that is going to be our tight end we're going to take here. I love this draft. I love this whole offseason. Like, we have really, I feel like we've crushed this. We filled a lot of needs. We got creative on how to bolster the defensive front after watching the Seahawks dominate, right? And we'll do a quick recap of everything now, as a matter of fact. Let's just go ahead and take our boy before I forget. So there's Kazoil. I think we got a couple more 7th-round picks now, right, if I remember correctly? Yeah, so we're going to have 2 7th-round picks. Let's just go best available, and we'll just go rapid fire here. Again, I'm not saying this is the picks I would specifically take. I'm just taking a quick look and seeing if anybody grabs our attention. There's Emil Wagner from Notre Dame. Was a solid tackle at one point in college. Do we go get another offensive line here? I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, right? You could go get another offensive line. You feel good about what you did with defensive tackle. Let's just go. Here we go. Solder says more O-line and more cornerback. All right. So we'll just go best available according to their board. You got Carver Willis, Keegan Trost, and Emil Wagner are the top tackles. If we went, again, what did he say? And cornerback, offensive line and cornerback. So if we went cornerback, it would be Jermaine Matthews. There's less cornerback options, right, than there is offensive line. So let's trigger corner and see what we got here real quick. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here, but I do want to check these real quick. So if we go Jermaine Matthews, he's 399. These are probably going to be pretty far down on our list. There's 260. Brent Austin. If I can find him. Brent Austin is 231. Jalen McMurray is 281. Colin Wright is 324. So, yeah, I think it was it our first one there? we'll just take the best that they got available here. We're just going to go Jermaine Matthews out of Ohio State. Okay, we'll go corner, and then we will come back to offensive line, like Solder was saying. All right, so we come back to O-line and O-tackle. There's Emil Wagner still there, so he's still best available in terms of that. Let's go ahead and nab Emil Wagner. Actually, let's see if Willis is better. If Carver Willis is better, we'll go that route. Okay. Carver Willis is 279. Emil Wagner is 158. That's a solid pick for that. Yeah. I was kind of expecting Emil Wagner going into – from what I've seen at Notre Dame over the years, like Emil Wagner might be a borderline first-round pick. And then when I put all the numbers into the board, to the system over here at Patreon, it's like, oh, yeah, he's a lot lower than that was the fan in me, right? And you got to remove that. You got to remove that opinion. Being a Notre Dame fan, I wanted him to be better than he actually was. But we'll go Emil Wagner there. And then with the last one, we'll go ahead and get Carver Willis too. Just go ahead and grab another offensive lineman. There's a guard there, Logan Taylor. We'll go offensive tackle because we know they love to kick them in, right? Unless we go best available. There's another tight end, Nowalski, safety, one tech there. Yeah, we'll just go Carver Willis just to make things easy, okay? So here is the offseason recap, guys. They give us an A-, all right? And again, your final cap space, you go into the season at $9.8 million is where you're at. Matter of fact, we'll do a quick recap in just a second. If you guys are listening back to this later, we'll end the draft segment there and actually go ahead. Here is a quick recap of the draft picks. I want to know what everybody thinks in the comments, all right? How do you feel about this draft class? With the second round pick, Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. Third round pick, Chandler Rivers, cornerback out of Duke. Fourth round pick, Bo Stevens, guard out of Iowa. Fifth round pick, Red Murdoch, linebacker out of Buffalo. Sixth is tight end Tanner Kazoil out of Houston. Seventh is Jermaine Matthews Jr., cornerback out of Ohio State. Another seventh-round pick is Emil Wagner, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. And then another seventh-round pick is Carver Willis, offensive tackle out of Washington. So you really shored everything up. That coupled with Trayvon Diggs at corner, Onyemata and Logan Hall at defensive tackle. You're bringing back Quay Walker. You're bringing back Sean Ryan. How do you guys feel about that draft class? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. We greatly appreciate your all support and hanging out here with us on PTA. All right, now let's just do a quick recap of the whole offseason. I want to see what everybody in the chat, let me know right now, how do you guys feel about this? How do y'all feel about this entire offseason here? I'm going to try to grab an image for us. And then once it's downloaded, and I think it has, I'm going to try to put it up on the screen for everybody because unfortunately it does not allow me to go back and show everything on this screen. But how do y'all feel? Let us know in the chat, and I'm going to get to that super chat as well. Let us know how you feel about what we just did here in the offseason. I've got the other one saved from yesterday too, so we can kind of compare and contrast. It's going to be cool. So today's offseason, and get it on the screen. Bang, it may be a little bit hard to read, but that's just kind of a quick recap of what we've done here. I'll go full screen so my old ass can actually see it, of course. Getting old, boys. Getting old. It's catching up. So how do we feel about it? Mike Z says solid. All right, he likes it. Coach Lynn says great offseason. I agree. Nick McSwain just woke up. He said, what's up, PTA? I'm late. AF. Jen Wright, it would be a win. I agree. Right? Usually you do these things, you go, I really don't like that move. I wish I'd have done that different. The only thing that I could push back on here, that most people, I think, I don't know if most, but some would push back, is to maybe cut Rashawn Gary outright. But I just love the depth we got there now. You know, you've done a restructure. You freed up some cap space to keep him on the roster. Obviously, you freed up some cap space with Josh Jacobs as well. You cut Aaron Banks and Elton Jenkins, like cutting those two guys. The negative to this, let me just put it this way. The negative to this approach of kind of controlling the Packers offseason is you got younger at offensive line. We all agree with that, right? Like that's the negative to this stance. So if you go back to yesterday, we signed Tyler Linderbaum and Trayvon Diggs. And then we got younger at we got younger at defensive tackle. We didn't do anything to the defensive tackle, right? We didn't sign any free agents. And we got Skylar Gill-Howard with a 5th-round pick. So you can't expect the defensive front to get better approaching it that way. So the negative to yesterday was your defensive line. You kind of neglected your defensive line, but you did bolster your offensive line and you got some cornerback help, right? That's kind of what you did there. But again, the negative is you neglected interior defensive line. Today, we prioritize defensive line You go get Logan Hall, you get David Onyemata, right? But what's the negative to that? You got younger at offensive line. So you cut Aaron Banks, you cut Elton Jenkins to free up the money to go get Logan Hall and David Onyemata. And then you got a rookie center starting, and you got a rookie guard in Bo Stevens who's going to be competing with Sean Ryan and Anthony Belton for two spots on the offensive line. Those three guys competing. So that's the negative, right? It's a perfect example of you can't get everything you want in the offseason. You got to pick and choose. Well, in this scenario, we really did prioritize the tier 1 position of importance at defensive tackle. So it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Greg Taylor says bring a vet at center and a veteran at defensive tackle. If we just got one defensive tackle here and we got Tyler Linderbaum, we can make that happen with the cap, Greg. But I don't think you can get Trayvon Diggs, Quay Walker, and Sean Ryan back. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I think it's a great idea. If we went Tyler Linderbaum and we went with either Logan Hall or David Onyemata, let's say David Onyemata, I don't hate that. I think that's a great plan, Greg. I do. I could see the value there for sure. Let's see here. Anybody else in the chat? I think we're good, right? Here we go. Soder says cornerback's still going to be a problem. Let's think about it. Trayvon Diggs, now Bobby Babich is going to be his coach, right? Can Trayvon Diggs, I'm not expecting him to return to all-pro form, but can he get somewhere in between where he was and all-pro? Let's say, can Trayvon Diggs grade out in the 70s, the low 70s, and have the best passer rating when targeted on the team? Can he do that? If he can, I think you get better there. You know, I think you do get better at the cornerback position. Also, Chandler Rivers as a 3rd round pick. What if he is the equivalent to a Tucker Kraft 3rd round pick, right? What if you actually hit on that 3rd round pick and he ends up being a great football player? Then you feel better. But I understand what you're saying. So there's a lot of questions, right? There's a lot of questions listed here for sure. Yeah. Josh Martin says, is Diggs worth bringing back? You got to do something at corner, right? Again, we didn't overpay for him. His previous average annual value on his contract that the Cowboys gave him was $19 million per. We got Trayvon Diggs back at $8.7 million per. A 3-year deal that's really a 1-year deal. So if he continues to struggle like he did last year, Josh, you can just cut him and move on, right? But at least you took a shot. You took a chance on, okay, we added there. Now, if you're saying there's another cornerback that you would like more, maybe that's the next off-season show that we do. That maybe we dive in and we actually try to, all right, let's be aggressive with cornerback instead of interior defensive line free agency. Let's forget Trayvon Diggs and try to get somewhat aggressive at corner. That would be a fun show as well. So maybe we can check that out. Maybe we should give that a shot for sure. Let's see here. Solder in the chat. So let me hit the super chat. I'm sorry I neglected this. I'm going to come back. Mike Witt, thank you so much, buddy. I greatly appreciate you being patient, man. He said, I just did a 3-round mock for the Packers. I ended up picking Chris Johnson in the 2nd. Love it. Chris Johnson's high on our board. I think that's a great pick out of, was it Arizona State, I believe, or San Diego State, one of those two. I get those mixed up. Jacob Rodriguez in the 3rd to replace Quay. Love Jacob Rodriguez. And Chandler Rivers in the 4th. Love them. All those picks would be great value for us. Now, here's the problem. What are we doing about offensive line? What are we doing about defensive tackle? In that scenario, maybe you go get Tyler Linderbaum or one of those lesser tier guys, I guess you could say lesser talented offensive linemen instead of Tyler Linderbaum. Maybe you get one of him and then you go and try to get a defensive tackle as well. So in this scenario, to make that work, instead of bringing Quay back, you would save $8 million per on Quay because he's just going to go to free agency, right? Under this same situation here. If you go that route and you replace Quay with Rodriguez, and that's not saying that Rodriguez was win the starting job, right? Maybe Isaiah McDuffie would be better to start with. Maybe Tyron Hopper takes a huge jump, but essentially you're replacing Quay with Rodriguez. And you guys know, I don't think Quay played great last year. I don't even think he played good. I think he was above average. That's kind of where I'm at, above average to good for Quay's play. So if you approach it that way, Mike, you could go in free agency and get a D tackle and an offensive lineman. That's how you would approach that. So love the picks. The picks are great value where you got them at for sure, man, according to our board. I know that because we've drafted those guys multiple times, right? So appreciate the super chat, man. Nice little 3-round mock. I love it, man. All you guys need to do that, man. Y'all need to do your mock drafts and throw them in our Patreon group. Throw them over in our Patreon group for sure. So again, quick recap, rapid fire. We cut Aaron Banks. We cut Elton Jenkins. We restructured Rashawn Gary and Josh Jacobs. we signed in free agency defensive tackle Logan Hall, defensive tackle David Onyemata, cornerback Trayvon Diggs, linebacker Quay Walker, interior offensive lineman Sean Ryan. Okay, we got those at Logan Hall $9 million per, David Onyemata $9 million per, Trayvon Diggs essentially $9 million per, Quay Walker $8 million per, and Sean Ryan $4 million per. So again, these people that are saying you don't have cap space, you can free up the cap just like that. If they're good players that you want on your team and you're not overpaying for good, right? We'll overpay for great. We won't overpay for good. If you're not overpaying for good and you can add these 5 pieces to the roster, I think your roster is significantly better. I do. Draft class, we went 2nd round, Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. 3rd round, Chandler Rivers, cornerback out of Duke. 4th round, we went guard Bo Stevens out of Iowa. Red Murdoch, linebacker out of Buffalo with our 5th round pick. Tanner Kazoil, tight end, more of an F-type tight end, a guy that's going to flex out, play slot bully, things like that. He's out of Houston. We got him in the 6th round. We got a cornerback, Jermaine Matthews Jr. in the 7th round. Emil Wagner in the 7th round, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. And then you went offensive tackle Carver Willis out of Washington with our 7th round pick. And we did very little research on Carver. We did no research on Carver Willis. That may be a horrible pick. We were just trying to get through the show, obviously. So we just nabbed him because obviously the website said he was the best available, not necessarily our board, if that makes sense. Thomas with the super chat. Thank you so much, Thomas. He said, awesome content again, Clayton, and the best fan base in here. Yeah, thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the dono. Our fans are what make this show, man. People in the chat having these conversations, you notice we troubleshot this along the way, right? That's what makes it so fun. And hopefully on the podcast, you guys, we explain things enough for you. The podcast is kind of the heart and soul of what we do here. The YouTube channel came along later. We greatly appreciate everybody listening over at Packernet. Also, everybody that's tuning into our Overflow channel. If you're wondering why we got less content going out right now, we don't have less content going out. We just got we didn't want to continue to flood Packernet with all the extra content, so you can find it in our Overflow channel. Just search Packer Fan Total Access. Again, one word, Packer Fan Total Access. And that will that's where you can find our podcast. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff on wherever you get your podcasts. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on Podcast Republic. We're on everything. So last I checked with our broadcasting company, they're like, yeah, we've got you up and running on all the major platforms. So you should be able to find it again, Packer Fan Total Access, wherever you get your podcast. So yeah, appreciate you, Thomas. But again, man, everybody in the chat just kind of troubleshooting this is what makes it so great. And hopefully everybody on the podcast, like I said, understands what we did here today. So thank you for that, Superman. All right. With that being said, that's your wrap up, guys. Let us know in the comments when you watch this back later. How do you feel about what we accomplished here in the offseason, man? That was a lot of fun. Greatly appreciate all the feedback, all of the interactiveness in the chat. Do me a big favor. Hit like, hit subscribe. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. Also, the best way to support what we do here at PTA is join our Patreon group, patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. $3 get you access to everything over on our site. And you get access to the chat. You get access to our draft board as we're updating it in real time. I'm going to have Emilio update the link again here real soon. That way you guys have the most recent information. We're now adding everything in, the cheese emojis. We're going to start getting to some of the captain patches and things like that. So you get as much information as possible on one screen for, I think we've got close to 500 prospects that actually have a grade right now. We got 800 on the board. We're not going to get to 800 grades. I'd be okay if we just ended with 400 to 500 graded prospects because obviously there's not that many that's drafted. But I love when we get into the undrafted free agent system or season, if you will, once the draft's over and we sign an undrafted free agent. I love to be able to go and check where did he fall on our board. And if they're not on our board, we'll add them in through the same system and see where he would have fell on our board. So you're going to have some of those players that pop up in camp as well. So, yeah. All right, that's it, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Greatly appreciate everybody hanging out with us. If you would do us a big favor, spin those laces, hit that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. We'll see everybody over in the comments on YouTube and take the conversation over to our Patreon group as well. Go to the general chat. Let's talk about it. You guys post all of your mock drafts as well. And I see all the thanks in the comments. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you all so much for your time. That's it. My name is Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
Here we go. We're out. Bye, guys.